What is happening, you wonderful people? So I just got done watching the first two episodes of Creature Commandos, and in this series and in these two episodes, we follow a group of monsters led by Rick Flag as they go on a Black Ops mission to protect the princess. And that's really all I can say without giving anything away. This is a new start to James Gunn's new DCU, so I've been very excited about it. Let's talk about it. So one thing you got to know about me is that I have always been a big Marvel fan. I've always loved DC ever since I was little too. I love both, right? Always been a bigger Marvel fan though. But I'm always looking forward to a reboot and a new fresh start for DC. I am always when I heard that James Gunn was going to reboot DC and he was going to start a new fresh universe, I was like, okay, I'm I wasn't particularly hyped for it, but I was like, I'm gonna give it a chance, because I personally really do like the Snyderverse. I'm not like one of those over the top Snyder fanboys. You know what I mean? Like I love Batman v Superman. The Snyder cut I really enjoy, but I don't think it's like the greatest movie ever. You know what I mean? And Man of Steel I really enjoy. I don't think that's the greatest movie ever though, but overall I really like the Snyderverse. So when I heard James Gunn was going to be the president of DC, I was like, wow, okay, because I love all three of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Loved the first and third one, liked the second one. Holiday Special was great. The Suicide Squad was great. Didn't watch all of Peacemaker season one, but from what I saw, I really enjoyed. I think I watched episode one and I saw a little bit of episode two, but I loved what I saw. So Creature Commandos. When I heard he was doing Creature Commandos, I was like, this seems interesting, but it seems weird at the same time. And James Gunn, what he does and what he makes is weird. That's what James Gunn is best at doing, and it works. And I was kind of confused when I know we were all confused if the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker season one were going to be canon, and everyone was like, no, it's not. People are like, yes, it is. And recently, y'all heard recently that parts of it are canon. So I love the Suicide Squad. I don't know if I'll go back and watch Peacemaker season one. I don't really think I need to in a way, but let's talk about it. Starting off the bat, James Gunn does really good with how he writes his characters, right? He gives these characters depth and really motivation, and you get so attached to these characters. And who would think you would get so attached to a raccoon or a talking tree or a dog or a robot who fights Nazis? Like, what? It doesn't make any sense, but who would think you would get attached to a weasel? A weasel, man. Like, I'm telling you, just from these first two episodes, and I'll talk about my positives first and then my negatives. That's how I always do it because I like to be positive. I do. But if there's negatives, I'm going to talk about them because there are some in here, and I'm going to talk about them. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to give y'all my honest and full thoughts because that's what I like to do. I like to be honest with y'all. So yeah, I expected the writing to be fantastic, and I expected the characters for you to get attached to them. But one thing I was really not expecting, and James Gunn does really good, especially with the Guardians films. He does a really good job of laying the groundwork for these films and TV shows. And he does a really good job of dividing the serious moments with the funny moments, and this is a serious show, but it has its humorous bits. And I did not expect myself, I was legit laughing. I wasn't just chuckling, I wasn't chuckling. I was legit laughing because talking about the characters, G.I. Robot. There's something about G.I. Robot is voiced by Sean Gunn, who played Kraglin, and he is James Gunn's brother. And he also voices Weasel. He did the motion capture and voiced Weasel in the Suicide Squad. And just in these first two episodes, starting from the first episode, These two characters, and I'll talk about Dr. Phosphorus, who was voiced by Alan Tudyk in a minute. He's funny too. G.I. Robot and Weasel are just so likable in this show already, and they're so funny. And G.I. Robot just walks around talking to himself, talking nothing about killing Nazis, and it is just one of the funniest things. I can't, and I cannot wait to see episode 3 and the next few episodes, just so I can laugh and enjoy seeing these characters more on screen. And Weasel is just so nasty and so goofy and just so likable. And I think both of those characters are great. And Dr. Phosphorus, played by or voiced by Alan Tudyk, he's funny. I don't think Dr. Phosphorus is the funniest out, because the other two, Weasel and um, GI Robot, are the funniest. But Dr. Phosphorus is so nonchalant and so he's powerful. I will tell you that he is powerful, and there's a fight between him and Rick Flag that is brutal. I wouldn't say it's like brutal, but it's brutal, and that's the thing with this show. So far in these 2 episodes, it's not so gory, but there's a fight between Cersei, the main villain, and the bride, who's one of the main characters, towards the end, that is pretty brutal. But Dr. Phosphorus is likable too. He's really likable. And Frankenstein, voiced by David Harbour, is not in it much. He's mainly in like flashback sequences in the way, but I want to know more about him because he's an interesting character, and the bride isn't my favorite character so far, but she has an interesting backstory. I'm not the biggest fan of how her backstory is so far, but I want to learn more about her, and I absolutely love Nina Mazursky. I love her character so much, and she's such a sweet character, man. She is, and if anything is going to happen to her, I'm going to riot because I love this character. She's so sweet, man, and I don't want anything to happen to this character, man. And her dynamic so far with her and GI Robot is gold. It's gold, man. Like, I love it. And Rick Flag, voiced by Frank Grillo, I like his character. And he has to put up with all these characters and their nonsense, but it's just so funny and it's so entertaining, And I have to say, I feel like the animation is good for the most part. It has like this very comic booky, very paper mache feel vibe to it, And I'm not like the biggest fan of the animation, this type of animation style, but for what this show gives us, for what it has to offer, it works, and I really feel like it does. And it's a fun and entertaining start to the new DCU. And I'm not going to say I love it so far because we have, I think there's going to be 7 or 8 episodes. I have to look. I think it's 7. I thought it was 8, but I think it's 7. If it's 8, that's good though. But I'm excited for episode 3, and I want to love it, like fully love it by the time it ends, because I really do, because I trust in James Gunn and I have faith in him, and I'm very excited about this, and I want to see what he has to give us, especially with Superman. It's the next project in July. And, there are a lot of cool references to the Suicide Squad, and I don't think there's any references to Peacemaker season 1 yet, but there are a lot to the Suicide Squad, and I guarantee they'll give us a lot of references to Peacemaker season 1 in the future, in the next few episodes. Action is good for the most part, not great, but there's those crazy fight scenes towards the end with the bride and Cersei, and we don't get to see Cersei much because again, this is only the first 2 episodes, so it's kind of pivoting its way towards the next 2 episodes and kind of telling us and teaching us about these characters, letting us know about these characters, if that makes sense. And the story somewhat is, I told you what the story is without giving much away. It's good for the most part, and voice acting is great. Have no qualms about the voice acting. I think it's great. The needle drops are great. Not the soundtrack I would choose for this series, but there's one jazz music song that's really good, so those are my positives. I really am really enjoying the series for the most part, somewhat, but I do have my negatives as well. Hopping over to my negatives, so I don't think the story is hard to follow, but maybe it is a little familiar. Like, I like what James Gunn does with Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, how he makes his stories, because, the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad and Creature Commandos is a group of misfits. And it can feel a little familiar at times, but overall it works. It may have that generic feel at some points and sometimes, but even when it has that generic feel, it works and it doesn't take you out of it, And, I mentioned earlier, that I really like the animation, it has that comic booky and that very paper mache vibe and feel to it. But at the same time, I'm not the biggest fan of this animation. Like, I feel like it kind of pulls you out, and I hate that so much. But it's good that these characters, you like them so much, you don't really care about that. These characters are so likable, you just push that to the side, And James Gunn writes characters well, he does really good at writing these characters. And, I do think it is both these episodes are around 20 minutes long. I do feel like they could have been paced better. They are very fast paced, man. Like right when it starts, it ends. And I'm like, I wish it would have slowed down. I really wish these episodes would have been longer so I have more time to understand the narrative better and understand these characters better and what they are going for and what they want to get out of this story, if that makes sense, And I was not bored, maybe a little bit here and there, but I wasn't fully bored. So I don't have very many negatives for this show so far overall. So overall, I think the first 2 episodes of Creature Commandos is a somewhat fun and entertaining start to James Gunn's new DC reboot. And I trust James Gunn with the next few episodes. I trust him with all these new projects we're getting in this new universe. Superman, Batman Brave the Bold, Swamp Thing, the rest of Creature Commandos. I trust him. I am not loving it so far, but I am thoroughly enjoying it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I want to love it by the time it ends, and I hope I do. So y'all comment down below. Tell me what y'all think. Are y'all liking Creature Commandos so far? Are y'all not liking it? Are y'all excited for the next few episodes? Are y'all excited for James Gunn's DC Universe? Y'all let me know down below. Don't forget to like, comment, share in this video as well. Subscribe as well. We are at 575 or 74. I have to check. But the next big milestone, and if you're new, is 600. We're almost there. We're reaching that quickly. 789, the big one's 1K and beyond that. And if you're new as well, I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, trailer reactions, movie live streams, movie news, all that wonderful movie stuff. Keep talking movies, my wonderful people. Cheers.